Okay.
Thanks.
So welcome to our Tuesday evening chat with two rabbis. Thank you all for coming in here and joining Va-Dor on this week, couple days before Thanksgiving. We're thankful for everybody we have here. We're thankful for our members, our guests, our friends, our neighbors, and especially for Rabbi Barry and Rabbi Zvi for being here and sharing Torah with us. It's really important. Thank you so much. So it is November 24th, 2020. Go ahead, gentlemen.
Rabbi Kahn, I'll let you begin if you'd like.
Thank you very much. So the Torah portion this week is called Va-Yetse, and it begins with the very famous story and the kind of colorful story of the patriarch Jacob, who is traveling from the land of Canaan, which ultimately became the land of Israel, but he's going far, far away to find a bride, hopefully, back to Abraham's birthplace and a place called Haran, where he hopes to reconnect with Abraham, his grandfather's family. And he comes upon a place which by tradition we believe was the place where ultimately the temple was built, the Beit HaMikdash, the Holy Temple was built, and he goes to sleep there, and he dreams of a ladder that is placed on the ground, and it reaches up to the heavens, and there are angels, the Torah tells us, or in his vision, in his dream, there are angels going up the ladder and coming down the ladder. So the Torah itself doesn't explain what is the symbolism of this ladder, what is the meaning of this ladder, and there's lots of different discussion about that in the Talmud and the commentaries on the Torah. And I just want to share one or two of those ideas quickly. One idea is that the ladder represents the Torah itself. It represents Jewish life, Jewish learning, Jewish law, and the Torah itself, in the sense that the ultimate goal of the Torah is to serve as a bridge between mortals, between human beings on earth and between God and the supernal realm, so to speak, in the heavens. And so, and that's what the imagery is. And the angels going up and down, according to this interpretation, represent the actions that we do and the kind of messengers. Angels are always described as messengers. Those are the messengers that we up to God. And of course, there's God's blessings and communications that he's sending back to us. So that's one what I find very fascinating interpretation. And the second one is that the place of the temple would ultimately become the place where people would come to pray. It would be the central place of service to God. And so the ladder represents prayer. The prayer connects us with God, and the angels going up represent our prayers going up to God, and the angels coming down represent, so to speak, God's blessings that come back to us after we pray and in response to our prayer. So I think both of those are beautiful ideas. And as I said, there are many ways of interpreting and thinking about what this ladder represents. But the basic picture of Jacob, or the patriarch, going to sleep and dreaming in this special, holy, sacred space of a ladder connecting earth and the heavens, I think is really thought-provoking.
Sharon, you may want to try muting everybody because there's some sounds infiltrating the discussion. All right.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, I always enjoy listening to Rabbi Kahn share his thoughts on the Torah reading. And one thing that I've noticed in just the brief conversations that we've had so far about the Torah readings is that his interpretation and my understanding is usually quite similar. There's not a whole lot of difference. And most people would think, coming from very different backgrounds, we would have wildly different takes on these things. And sometimes we do, but in general, my understanding is very similar. I get a lot of my interpretations from my dad, and also I read the Jewish sources like Rabbi Kahn does. And my father told me that this passage with the ladder, it says that the base was in the ground, Va-Yetse, and its top went all the way up to the heavens to God. And he told me that it means that the Jewish people always have our feet on the ground. We're very grounded in this world. We don't live in a fairy tale world and just envision the next world. We're very interested in this world but we also set our sights for the heavens. So we aspire heavenward. We try to find out and understand what God's all about, but it doesn't stop us from being very involved in grappling with this world. And so my dad also told me that the interpretation is kind of metaphysical. It's a dream, so we don't really know for sure what was going on. It's just some aspirations that he had. If you think about it, some people live in this world and some people are just focused on the next world. Do we have to live in the former or the latter? And the truth is that we don't have to choose the former or the latter. The latter indicates the ascent up to heaven, and the former, you could say, it's a religion that forms us, that makes us form different ideas and forms us from what we are to what we could become. So we don't have to choose the former or the latter. We can have both all at the same time. And the other thing about the latter is that if you were to tell someone, okay, go up to heaven and let me see you live a spiritual heavenly life, they're going to say, I don't know how to do that. It's too far away. But if there's a ladder and you can go one rung at a time, now you have the possibility of climbing a little higher each time. So each Shabbat, each observance, each day, we can try to climb a little bit higher, and now it becomes doable. So the passage is, it's got a lot of interpretations. The other thing that I find most striking about the passage is that he takes a rock and uses it for a pillow. So he's in a wilderness and he's using a rock and he still has these revelations. He's not in a fancy temple, a beautiful church or anything. It's just, if you can have a revelation like that in that environment, then it could come from anywhere. It doesn't have to be in a pristine place. And then the other thing that I find the most significant part about the passage, maybe other people wouldn't, but he has this revelation and then he wakes up and then he goes, it wakes up and he says, Va-Yira. He was like dumbfounded. He was stunned or amazed. It's related to the word Nora, which is in awe. He was like awestruck. He wakes up and he goes, oh my gosh, I didn't realize God is in this place. This is holy ground. I didn't even know that. And the way I interpret that is every day we wake up, this world is miraculous. Like every day is sacred, but we don't even know it. And the prayer book says that we walk sightless among miracles. And that's kind of like what the passage tells me. He had a vision of it, which really didn't get him in touch with something that was not real. It got him in touch with what's really going on, that there's something miraculous here, and every day we can aspire towards the heavens. He just never realized it. And the dream opened up his eyes and he said, oh my gosh, now I get it. This is something that's occurring all the time, or that's accessible all the time. So I really like this passage. It talks about how the Jewish people were dreamers, but we got our feet on the ground. Jewish people have accomplished incredible things in this world. And we've also helped bring humanity to a place where they seek God. And so it's a beautiful passage to me, one of the best. Rabbi Kahn, do you have any other thoughts on this, or you want to go to our next topic?
I'd love to share one more thought, but Sharon looks like she wants to share something, please.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to ask, and I kind of already have the little foresight because I've heard the passage before and I listened to Rabbi Barry's Torah reading of it today. But I believe after he wakes up and he has the revelation that he builds an ark and almost kind of builds a sanctuary in that spot because it is God's holy ground, so to speak, right?
Yeah, what he does, he takes the rock and he uses that to become as an altar. He makes it as an altar, and then he sprinkles oil on it, which sanctifies it. And you can think of an altar, like what's so great about an altar? An altar is a way that we can alter our perception of the world. So he builds this altar, and then according to tradition or legend, that rock becomes the cornerstone of the temple in Jerusalem, which is the Jewish attempt to get in contact with the divine. So it ties us to our ancestors. Yeah, it's quite extraordinary. The other thing that's amazing is the place, he calls it Beth El, or Bet El, the house of God. It was called Luz, and Luz means light. You know, like in Spanish, luz is light, and in In Latin, luz is light. So the place was called light. So he becomes enlightened in a place called light. It's very, very interesting. Rabbi Kahn?
Sure.
What else about this passage? I mean, there's a lot in this passage. There's a lot of other aspects of it also.
A lot going on. I love the stories about Jacob when he comes and he meets his future wife, one of his future wives. He ends up with 4 wives, but Rachel, he meets Rachel at the well. And as soon as the shepherds identify her and they say, this is Rachel coming with the flock of her father, Jacob, Yaakov runs over and he kisses her, which is really very striking. He's a total stranger. And according to the kind of figuring out of the chronology and the ages, he's much older than she is. And he runs over and then he starts crying and he starts sobbing. And it's really very emotional. It's one of the first times, and in a way, one of the very few times that we see one of the patriarchs or matriarchs for that matter, showing such emotion that he loved her and he kissed her. And this is his first time ever seeing her or meeting her. And that then he starts crying. And so there's discussion about why is he crying at this time? What is he crying over? And one of the rabbinic traditions is that he had a kind of vision that ultimately she would not be buried with him. And the Torah tells us much later that when he returns to the land of Canaan, to the land ultimately that would be the land of Israel, she dies on the trip, and she's buried, of course, in what is Bethlehem today, Beit Lechem today. And you can still go to what is believed to be, not necessarily accurately, but believed to be her burial site. But that the picture of Jacob kissing her because he loves her so much, even though he just met her, and then sobbing over the fact that he has a vision of the foretelling of the future, that she won't be buried with him and she'll die before coming into the land. And it's just very powerful to me, those emotions that are going on then, and his connection and feeling for her from the very first moment.
Yeah, so that's where I'm familiar with those interpretations, but I like, again, I go back to Occam's razor, which is a scientific principle, like what's the easiest explanation without having to conjecture things for which there's no evidence. It seems to me plausible that she was his kin. So he met someone who is a kinsman. He's traveling all this distance. He finds someone who's a kin, and he finds someone and he sees her, and there's something about her that he could tell that she's going to be his wife. And so obviously he became very emotional. Yes, it was very odd in those days to kiss, but maybe that was because it was a relative, a kinsman, kisses her, and then it just seems natural that he would be filled with emotion and he would cry tears of joy that he found someone that's going to be his future wife that he could share his life with. I prefer not to think about, well, he just meets her, now he's figuring out where she's going to be buried. It's like, I don't know, it seems kind of unnatural. I think if he met her, his first thought wouldn't be, oh, bummer, I'm going to be buried in a different place than she is. He would probably be thinking, wow, she's awesome, and she's part of my family. I'm going to get married, and we're going to have a great life together. This seems a little more likely, but you never know. Now, so this passage is great. By the way, anyone who's listening, if you want to hear it expounded, you can watch our Shabbat celebration this Friday. And now I'd like to maybe veer off into what we should give thanks for. I'd be interested, Rabbi Kahn, maybe you could share, and then I would, and then we could open up to everybody, because I want to find out everybody on here what they're grateful for.
I'm happy to start, but I'm also very interested. I really want to hear what everyone has to say. I think that's the core of Thanksgiving, besides the turkey and the football games and family coming together, which is so important. It's really important to actually be thankful and figure out what it is that we're thankful for. So I happen to see, I get a little New York Times electronic email every day, and I saw it said they had a contest or a challenge to viewers to send in, what are you thankful for, in 6 words. Only 6 words. You could not use more than 6 words. What are you thankful for? So I really had to think about that. How do you fit that into 6 words? And then it dawned on me, it occurred to me that there's something very special to be thankful for in my family, and that is that our children have all 4 of their grandchildren, thank God, alive and well. And of course, at the ages of my parents and my wife's parents, there are all kinds of different health issues for some of the folks involved, so I sent in the message I sent in was all 4 grandparents alive and well. Yeah, those are the and for me, it really came together. It challenged me to think. I mean, there's so many things we're thankful for, but to me, at my age and at my children's ages, I have children in college, and for them to be able to have all 4 of their grandchildren, thank God, alive and well, they can call them and wish them a happy Thanksgiving, and very special. So that was just my thought.
Very good. Okay. I'm reminded of my father used to tell this joke. This guy said that he was going to meet a girl for the first time. He was very shy and very nervous and didn't know what to talk about. So his mother said, why don't you just talk about family, and then talk about food, and talk about philosophy. You can remember all family, food, philosophy. So that's a good way to make a conversation. So he says, so he meets the girl on the first date. He says, do you like noodle pudding? She says, no. And he says, do you have any brothers? No. So now he's trying to think philosophy. If you had a brother, would he like noodle pudding? And my dad told the story that he was actually at a wedding once with my mom sitting next to him, and somebody next to him was not a good conversationalist. So he looks over at my mom and he says, do you like some food? And he says, no. Then he says, do you have a brother? And he says, no. And my dad's like cracking up. My mom's almost on the floor. Says, if you had a brother, and he just couldn't hold it. He was just cracking up. So anyway, what do we have to give thanks for? I'd say food, family, friends. I'm sticking with the same F sound, philosophy, and I'm talking Jewish philosophy, the future, which now looks a lot brighter, and fun, and having fun. So I'd say those 6 things. But I am very, very, very grateful for the new administration. I'm really filled with optimism about that. Extremely grateful to Sharon for making all these programs possible. This one, volunteering for the concert to end gun violence and the Shabbat, and all she does. I'm very grateful to the entire Va-Dor family for allowing me the opportunity to have the greatest job in the world, to be able to share some thoughts about Judaism and try to channel some of my dad's thinking as well. I'm very, very grateful to my friends and family, and I'm extremely grateful for my health, that I'm still around and able to play tennis and Frisbee, and just really grateful for a lot of things, and it's great to be here. And I just want to say also that I'll be even more grateful when our country recognizes that you don't have to slaughter animals to show gratitude. I saw this thing with the pardoning of the turkey, and I really find it very obscene. And I know they make a big deal about it. It's supposed to be fun, but this one's pardoned and this one isn't, so we're going to kill it. And I just see people joking around about killing an animal, and this one goes free and this one's going to be slaughtered. If you are going to eat meat, to joke around and laugh about it, it's not Jewish. It's very un-Jewish. In Judaism, even when the Jews had no alternative but to eat meat in the old days, they did it begrudgingly. They didn't joke around about it or laugh about it. They did it with seriousness, and they tried to spare the animals suffering. So the whole thing kind of like turns me off. But I'm extremely grateful for a lot of things. Now I'd like to hear from everybody else what you have to be grateful for. Emily. You
Okay,
gotta unmute everybody.
Yeah, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Okay. This is kind of interesting. As many of you know, my old email was hacked again today, and everybody on my list got a note from Nigeria asking you to give money to whatever it is. Well, I'm very grateful really for that, because I've had phone calls from Toronto, from Hawaii, from people who knew Jack in college. And it was so nice to be able to talk to these people and for them to say to me, isn't it wonderful that you've had such a good life, that you've had such good kids, that Jack is hanging in there and reminding me of all the good times we've had and all the fabulous ideas he had. So from something that was really bad and gave people like poor Sharon a lot of agita because she didn't respond to the email, for me, it turned out to be, isn't that nice? You're actually calling me from Hawaii to say, I mean, got to be grateful for people who remember you.
I got to say, Emily has an amazing attitude. One of the most positive people I know. Even your email's hacked and she's giving thanks. Who else? Sharon, go ahead.
Well, it's funny. Her email got hacked and it sent a message to different people. And the message said, can you help me? I need a big favor of you. Well, if Emily asks me for a favor, I feel like I have to do it because I'm so close to her. She's a wonderful person. And I couldn't do it because she wanted it today, and I couldn't. And I felt such Jewish guilt writing her back saying, I can't help you today. I can maybe do it
love
tomorrow.
you, Sharon.
I felt so bad.
See, when
So
I got that,
I had to share that.
well, when I got it, it was like, I need you to get some money for a gift from
Right.
a credit card or something like that. So with me, I don't handle money. So I said to Francine, can you take care of this? She said, it's a hoax. I didn't notice it. I was going to just send the money. She says, it's a hoax. So then I called Emily and said, yeah, it's a hoax.
See, meanwhile, you called me and I had the pleasure of the conversation.
Yeah, that's good.
And I emailed her
turned
back
out
and say,
to
I'm
be
sorry.
So that's another thing I should give thanks for. I should give thanks for Francine. I mentioned all the F's, the fun, the family, the friends. I forgot Francine.
That's right.
She's
That's
the
right.
one who bails me out of making a fool of myself. All right, who else?
Gail, do you want to tell us what you're thankful for? You just have to unmute yourself. Doesn't have to be long-winded. You can just be thankful for it.
No, well, aside from the friends and family, and I'm thankful for what looks like a much better future. The last 4 years have been horrible, and it's going to be difficult, but I'm just hoping, like the rabbi is, that we're going to be able to have some positive change in this country, and we will be a democracy again, because we're very far from it now.
Thank you, Gail.
Amen. I just want to comment on that. Hoping for the best is good, but it's going to take us, especially I think the Jewish people, to try to lend a moral and spiritual foundation for this new future that we have. So we should hope for the best, but we need to work hard, all of us, to get involved and
Send money to Georgia.
Yeah, that's right. Let's focus on Georgia.
Yeah.
Who else?
Every day I get emails, send money to Georgia.
Bevelyn, you want to tell us what you might be grateful for or thankful for, Bevelyn Kaplan?
You caught me.
Oh, I'm sorry. We'll come back to you. It's okay.
Thank you.
We'll come back to you. Valerie, you want to tell us what you're grateful for?
Life. That's it.
Okay, short and
And
sweet.
everything it brings with it. Ups and downs.
Harris, you have your hand raised. Go ahead. And then Wendy. Unmute yourself first, Harris.
Now you can hear me.
Yep, I can.
I'm grateful that my parents left to Ukraine, or I wouldn't be here. And one more thing, Biden picked 2 Jews for his cabinet, 1 Secretary of State, 1 Treasurer. So that's good news. And I got something for the Rabbi Khan. There was an article in Haaretz. Do you ever hear of Haaretz?
Yes, sure.
Okay, it's a newspaper in Israel. They had
Sure.
an article, it's about 2 lines, that the Orthodox Jews that read the Torah will never catch the virus. That was in the Haaretz paper.
How come? What's the secret?
Reading the Torah.
Oh, I wish it was that simple.
And that's all I got to say.
Thank you, Harris.
I
Irene
just want to
Ostroff,
say,
oh, I'm
Sharon, I
sorry.
just want to say that I'm also happy that Harris's parents left the Ukraine. I give thanks for that so that we can have him
Thank
among
you.
us.
Thank you, Barry.
Who else?
Irene Ostroff, you want to say something? You have to unmute yourself, Irene. Click on the little microphone on the bottom left corner.
I'm ready now.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Bevelyn, while Irene is unmuting herself.
Oh,
Go ahead.
well, I'm grateful for good health. I'm grateful, of course, for my children, grandchildren, and now my very first great-granddaughter.
Wow, congratulations.
Congratulations.
Mazel tov.
I was supposed to be on a plane tonight as we speak. We were all getting together as we have done over the years. And this was going to be my introduction to Lucy Bliss, and she is a joy. But unfortunately, circumstances changed that. So hopefully I'll use my vouchers in the spring and we'll make up for it then.
When was she born?
July, she's 4 months old. And she is the best medicine I could possibly take. My granddaughter bought me one of these revolving frames where the pictures keep turning. And whenever I need a fix, I go and I sit down in front of that frame and I just look at that baby. And it puts a smile on my face and makes me feel much, much better.
That's great.
Isn't
Are you
that
trying to say it affects your frame of mind?
Oh,
Absolutely. Because my frame of mind has been revolving quite a bit.
Revolving and
I get the picture.
evolving. Wendy, you
else?
want to unmute yourself, Wendy? Or Irene, go ahead.
Can
Irene,
you hear me now?
we
Yes.
can. Thank you, Irene.
Okay. I'm grateful that my wonderful family, my immediate family, and my extended family are all very peaceful people. We've never had any contention. Everybody speaks to each other. And on Thanksgiving Eve, we're having a Zoom call, which is going to be pretty much all over the country. And hopefully we'll see each other that way.
That is a
Thanks,
very, very
Irene.
good idea. I think other people might want to copy you because that's a
Yep.
great way to celebrate.
Yes.
Go ahead, Wendy. Thank you, Irene. Go ahead, Wendy.
Actually, I'm glad that Irene mentioned that because I have that also, and I had set it up and I forgot to send out an email to just remind people about it. So, but we're doing that also. I'm grateful for my 2 wonderful children. I really am. I mean, everybody loves their kids, but I got very fortunate in how great they turned out. Of course, I'd like them closer by, but such is life. They're happy, they're healthy. And the other thing I'm grateful for, which I've shared with you, is all of you. And I'm not just saying it because I'm here and online, but I tell people all the time. So thank you for everything.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Wendy.
Wendy.
Raylene,
Who
you want to
else?
say something?
I do. I'm grateful for my parents. They gave me life and gave me the strength to deal with the loneliness of my loss of my husband and a new life down here in Florida.
Thanks, Raylene. We're here for you, and you always got some an extended family right here. All right, who else?
Joel, you want to say something?
I don't know. Where do I begin? I'm just grateful for Va-Dor and the people. Very compassionate. I thank you all.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Joel.
Joel.
We're grateful for you too.
And
Suzanne, you had
Maria.
your hand raised, honey.
I'm thankful for family, friends, food, my dog, and for yoga, LA Fitness, and music.
Wow. It's a great list.
Annie,
good.
Annie, you're there. Okay, Annie, you want to unmute yourself? Let's see if I can help you. Yeah. Yep, you got
Am
it.
I unmuted?
You are. Go ahead, Amy.
Well, I'm so glad to be here today. I get your emails, and I've been to Barry Silver's services many years for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. And I thought, what a nice thing to do to join you tonight, and I'm enjoying it very much. And my sister passed 6 months ago, so I'm the last one. So I am very grateful for my life and my health, and I'm looking forward to a better future. And now that you reminded me of Zoom, I'm going to call my daughter-in-law and say, get it together. I want to see you tomorrow night. So I think this is a good thing. Thank you all.
Annie,
Thank
thanks
you,
so
Annie.
much for joining us.
Thank
And,
you for having me.
I think it is a great idea for everybody to do it. I think Irene's the one who mentioned it, but Wendy also, get the whole family together on Thanksgiving and do it by Zoom, and you can connect with people that you haven't seen in a long time. You could get as many people as you want on the line. I think it would be great. But I'm glad you decided to drop in, Annie, and say hello.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can I
Thank
say
you,
one
Annie.
thing, Sharon?
Go ahead, Wendy.
For those of you that are alone or your Thanksgiving with your families or friends are going to end by 7 p.m. online, there is something special called, I have to go double check, but I think it's called nurseheroes.org. And it's gonna be a concert with like 40 famous people donating their time, music of, our era, anywhere from, 70s on. It's gonna have Celine Dion, Andrea Bocelli, Stevie Wonder, all kinds of people. And they're raising money for nursing scholarships and, showing different things about the heroes. I just thought it was, and the nurses are thrilled that they're doing this. So I hope it gets enough attention since it's online. Certainly, we know a lot of our kids do things online that they don't do on TV. And being it's a concert for anybody who enjoys music.
What was the website again, Wendy?
I'm gonna go double check while you're talking.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, we all should be really grateful for medical people and nurses. Nurses do incredible work, and it's really tough work, and they put themselves in the middle of really horrific situations, and they do it with style and grace. And doctors and scientists, we should be extremely grateful for them, and they're going to help us get through this pandemic. So we should all be very grateful for what they're doing.
So I think I'm the last one. Hold on, Wendy. I think I'm the last one. And I just want to say that I am extremely grateful and thankful for Va-Dor, for having Judaism in my life, having Rabbi Barry be healthy, God willing, he'll continue to be healthy. Having my sister, my brother, and the rest of my family. God willing, my sister will be well again. And we are having a Zoom pre-Thanksgiving tomorrow night that I arranged for my family. We've got people from all over, from London and New England and down here and just around the United States. And we're all going to be together and share what we're thankful for. And I'm thankful for my friends and my life and good health.
All right, great. Thank you so much. Go ahead, Wendy. What do you got for us?
That looks like that is correct. Nurse Heroes, HEROES.org. And it's at 7 p.m.
Thank you for sharing that, Wendy.
Yeah, I just want to share something with everybody and then ask something of Rabbi Kahn. During one of my many hospitalizations, I was not able to eat or drink for days and days and days. I remember one time when I couldn't even swallow, I could take an ice cube but not swallow it. I remember the first time that they told me I could have water. And I went and I drank water and was like, oh, wow, that is so good. I was like so thrilled to drink water. And then a few days later, they said I could have vegetable broth. And I tasted vegetable broth and was like, wow, this is so good. I said, I'm never going to look at food and water again the same way. That's really what Yom Kippur is all about, is to deprive yourself of something and then to appreciate it. But I have a sense of just how precious water is and how precious food is, especially in all the diversity. We get so much of it that we have trouble appreciating it. But I just want everyone here to know that don't wait until you have to go through that kind of experience. It's not a lot of fun, but food is really incredible. We're really blessed to be able to have abundance of food and to have potable drinking water and to just go into a refrigerator and just pop up some ice water and stuff. We're really lucky. And it's good to be able to appreciate that sometimes, like Jacob did when he said, oh my gosh, I didn't realize there's holiness in this place. Now we had a lot of fluff here today, a lot of good feelings and stuff, but those who know me know that we can't just leave it at that. We can't just all share good times and say everybody's hunky-dory. We got to have some kind of sharing of views. So Rabbi Kahn, I wanted to talk to you about what you thought about the settlements with Pompeo going and visiting the settlements. What do you think about these settlements? And what do you think of Pompeo visiting the settlements? And also, let me ask, well, let's talk about that. Then there's one other thing I want to ask you about. And Rabbi Kahn has to go at 8 sharp. So we don't have a whole lot of time for conflict. So that's a good thing. We're going to spend most of our time in agreement. But I don't know, maybe he'll agree with me. But what do you think about that, Rabbi Kahn?
So I actually lived on a settlement called Efrat, which is about a half of Jerusalem in the West Bank area for 3 years. And it was a fantastic experience. And I came to really appreciate the lives of the folks who live there and to understand the connection of the Jewish people to some of the truly historic parts of the area that we call the West Bank. And to understand how precious that area is in certain ways. Of course, there's the whole other issue, which is that from the Palestinian point of view, there have been Palestinians, Arabs who have lived there for centuries and centuries, and that these are their home areas, and ultimately they would like to have their own state, they build their own state in that area. So I get that it's a complicated issue and a complicated question. There's no doubt about that. But certainly have an appreciation for that. In terms of Pompeo's visit, I actually think I thought it was an unusual thing for him to do, but something which can ultimately pay a lot of dividends, because even if a person is opposed to the settlements and they don't think he should have gone there, and they don't think he should have gone to the Golan Heights area, even if you take that position, the fact is, I think, I should really say it's an opinion, you can make the case that the Trump administration and its kind of very clear moves in a certain direction in terms of its pro-Israel stance has put a lot of pressure on the Palestinian side to say, hey, if we're going to make a deal, we better be realistic and try and make arrangements. And they've been very quick. The Palestinian Authority has just announced that they do want to establish ties with the Biden administration, and they do want to start talking to Israel again. And I think that's a good thing, because if you look at the history of the negotiations that have gone on, there was a time under Prime Minister Olmert, again under Prime Minister Barak, where Israel said, we're prepared to give you back the West Bank up to 98% of the land and make an arrangement. And the Palestinian side was not interested at that time. And I think even if you're kind of opposed to some of the positions that the Trump administration has taken vis-a-vis Israel, the fact is that Israel might be able to find itself in a situation where the Palestinian Authority says, hey, we're anxious to make a deal. Let's use the good services of the Biden administration to get things going again. And that might lead to unexpected benefits, especially with other Arab countries coming on board to support it, as we've seen recently with the UAE and the Bahrain and now Saudi Arabia behind the scenes possibly. So I think there's some very good positive things possibly happening.
Well, I do agree with Rabbi Khan. I see great positive things happening. Arab nations making peace with Israel, Saudi Arabia moving closer. And I think that the Biden administration could be the one that could actually establish peace in the Middle East. They got an incredible Secretary of State whose stepfather is a Holocaust survivor, Blinken. And I think that these are the people that could possibly do it. I also find, just as background, I find the Palestinian position abysmal, immoral, vicious, violent, intolerant, blowing up kids, blowing up schools, rejecting peace treaties left and right, honoring murderers. So I have no respect for their position. They had a democracy and they voted for a terrorist group. I have no respect for their position at all, but I still think that the settlements are wrong. I don't agree with the settlements. If you look at Israel today, obviously, before 48, a lot of what is Israel today was Palestinian area. There were Palestinian communities, Palestinian villages. They're all gone. They're just gone. And to say now we should continue that and start moving into the West Bank and moving into Palestinian areas and putting settlements out there, I just think it's not fair. It's not right. It's not good for PR for Israel. I find the settlements very unsettling. I find the settlers to be unsettling in their views and their philosophy. I think that it's not helpful to peace. However, I don't want anyone to misconstrue. The responsibility for not having peace is 99.99% on the Palestinians and 0.001% on these settlements. So there's not an equivalence, but I just find it wrong. And Trump, I don't think he was the guy to do it, but with Biden, I have hopes that we can actually accomplish something. The other thing I wanted to ask about, Rabbi Khan, in the brief time that we have left, is this statement by Tlaib, Congresswoman Tlaib, who referred to Netanyahu as racist, as his racist policies. I find her to be vile. I mean, I don't care if she's Palestinian. To suggest that the country of Israel that has done so much to try to establish peace, they don't even have a death penalty for terrorists, and has been so patient and so understanding towards those who are trying to destroy her, to refer to him as racist. I'm not a big fan of Netanyahu, but I do respect his courage, his strength, his valor for fighting for Israel, and to call him racist is just wrong. And I think that the Democratic Party should condemn her. And I think that I'm not going to wait around for the party to do it, because they're not going to do it. I already know the Democratic Party doesn't have the guts or the courage to do it, but I'm calling on Jewish Democrats to speak up and defend ourselves, and to say that, okay, I might not agree with Netanyahu. Don't call the policies of Israel racist. They're the only free country in that part of the world. They're the only ones that, if you're Palestinian, you have civil rights, and if you're a woman, you have equality. Don't call them racist, and she should be condemned, and she should not have anything to do with this current administration. She should be ostracized and same with the rest of the squad. It should be ostracized until they retract their anti-Israel statements. Rabbi Khan, I'd love to hear your take on it, and then open it up to others.
Sure, I totally agree. I couldn't agree more. And I think that a big test, it's not coming at this moment, but a big test of the new Biden and Kamala Harris administration, and of course the new cabinet members, once they're underway, a big test will be, what will their response be to these kinds of statements from these members of the Democratic Party? And I think it behooves them, it really will be a litmus test. Are they going to take a strong stance and condemn these kinds of remarks and say, That's unacceptable, and that's not what the Democratic Party believes in. Then we can all breathe a sigh of relief and start to feel that we're moving in a positive direction in that regard. If not, if they continue to just be quiet and ignore it and put their heads in the sand, I think then that segment of the Democratic Party will continue to expand to the detriment of the Jewish community, to the detriment of Israel, and ultimately to the detriment of the principles of the Democratic Party. So I think it's a big test.
Well, Rabbi Kahn, I'm glad we agree on that one. And we've seen what the Democratic Party has to say about things like this. There have been people in the Democratic Party who have made similar comments, and there's just a deafening silence. So the only thing is now we have a Jewish Secretary of State who's very pro-Israel, and perhaps with his influence, something different will be done. But again, I say, we cannot wait for the Democratic Party to do the right thing. We as American Jews, just like we speak up for the immigrants and we speak up for people of all different backgrounds, we need to speak up for ourselves and speak up for Israel. And we need to tell the Democratic Party, if we're Democrats or Republican, we should not put up with this. This is wrong. I'd love to hear from others about this. What do the others think?
You need to unmute, I think.
Yeah. Harris, I saw your hand first. Okay. There might have been somebody. Unmute yourself, honey. And then Gail, and then Valerie.
I want to go back to the Palestinian issue. I don't know if you're aware of it. If Palestinians killed Israelis, they got paid for it. And I thought that was horrible. Now that the Mahmoud Abbas, the president, has seen Israel get together with 3 Muslim countries, he's done a 360, and he's canceling paying money to Palestinians killing Israelis. So
doing that, but the Israeli government and America was giving money to the Palestinian Authority while they were using some of that money to pay off the terrorists, and I'm glad that has stopped. Right. Yes, that's a great new development. Who else?
Gail was next, and then Valerie.
Well, actually, Talib made those statements because of Lincoln today. She said that she hopes that that he is not going to take away her civil liberties.
Oh yeah, thanks for mentioning that, Gail. You're right. She made the comment as an anti-Semitic comment, really, against Lincoln.
Obviously.
Right, saying that she hopes he will take away her First Amendment right to complain about the racist Netanyahu.
Exactly.
It is an outrageous statement, and we should condemn it. Thanks, Gail.
Well, you know what? We live in a racist society, so.
But as Jews, we should never condone racism.
No, of course not.
Yeah. Go ahead, Valerie.
Valerie, go ahead.
Well, what I was going to say about the Biden administration, and I had said this before, and it's the platform of the parties that I was concerned about. The Democratic Party and aspects of the Republican Party as well had a lot of time, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, when these radical leftist jackasses got into their offices, and they could have shut them down. And they didn't up until now, and they had nothing to lose because they weren't the president-elect or the vice president-elect or trying to set a new cabinet or trying to set a new regime. They had the opportunity to shut these people down, and they supported them because they need that faction in order to get into power. So they are beholden to them. So I'm taking a wait and see attitude because I hope I'm wrong, but I don't have a whole hell of a lot of confidence that they're going to shut these people down. I'm scared that they're not. And that's why I was afraid of going in this direction.
Yeah, well,
and Rabbi, I have to say something with all due respect. The quote unquote potential peace in the Middle East happened within the past 2 years. It didn't happen in the Clinton administration. It didn't happen in the Obama administration. It didn't happen any other time. It happened now because what we did was what Roosevelt did. We walked quietly, possibly or not so quietly, and we carried a big stick. And they were afraid of the big stick. And I'm just afraid that that big stick is going to disappear because unfortunately, that's what a lot of entities understand. They have to be scared not to fall into line. And I hope that I'm wrong, but I hope that this administration follows through with that, because if they show a sign of weakness, we're going to revert right back to where we were 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago. And that's scary. That's what I have to say.
Well, you know, in fairness, I wouldn't blame the Republicans for the squad. The Republicans did everything they could to shut them down and vilify them.
But we do have radicals in the Republican Party too, and they too in their own, they have to be shut down as well. But it's predominant in the Democratic Party.
Yes, but the Democratic Party failed to shut them down and to ostracize them. And I agree with you, Valerie. I haven't seen it happening, but I do have hopes with Blinken. But I also say again, it's not up to them. It's up to us as American Jews to speak up and to demand that something different be done. So that's why it always comes back to the people to speak up and to challenge what they're doing. As far as carrying a big stick, I would just say this. Obviously, if Israel wasn't super powerful and had an incredibly powerful military, there would have been no Israel long ago. Right. So Israel has to be extremely strong, extremely vigilant, and not let anyone push them around. However, it wasn't only that caused the peace, and it wasn't only Republican administrations. The first major breakthrough came with President Carter. I'm not a fan of President Carter and what he's doing now. Took a lot of Arab money and he became anti-Israel. But he went to extraordinary lengths to bring Egypt and Israel together. And other Democrats have too. And it's not just Democrat or Republican when it comes to Israel. And I hope that we can get rid of this effort by some to make this a partisan issue. There have been some Republicans like Nixon, who was anti-Semitic, who said things on tape that were grossly anti-Semitic, who actually, according to reports, knew about the Yom Kippur attack before it happened and didn't tell Israel because he wanted Israel to have to come crawling to him for help so he could keep them in line. So it's not one part or the other, but today we have hope with Blinken as Secretary of State. I think good things might happen. We got a few minutes left. Anybody else want to weigh in on this?
Harris had his hand raised. Go ahead, Harris.
Just want to mention one thing that you all probably don't know about. The United States has an army base in Israel, and that could be one of the reasons why there's no retaliation for all the bombing that Israel is doing in Syria. There's never been any retaliation. Maybe Rabbi Khan can give an answer.
I wasn't aware that the United States had a base in Israel.
Yes.
I'm not aware of that.
Yes.
Interesting. All right. Let me just finish up this conversation.
Wendy's with both hands.
Wendy's with both hands.
Go ahead, Wendy.
Go ahead, Wendy.
This is actually has to do with that, with the Yom Kippur War, because I saw a presentation about Meyer Lansky and all the stuff going on in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and his involvement with such and such and this and that, and how he eventually ended up in Israel because he was fleeing here. And when that war happened, they wondered if Golda Meir knew the truth about what was going on, because it had something to do with Meyer Lansky, and she called Nixon about the fact that they needed help. And because of Nixon's connections with Meyer Lansky, he told the American troops to send every fighter jet they had over, and within 9 hours, it was done.
Right. But there are credible reports that Nixon knew about the attack before it happened and didn't mention anything. And Kissinger restrained Israel from wiping out the Egyptian army. If you recall, Israel suffered horribly in the beginning, but then had the Egyptian army on the run and could have wiped them out and could have marched right into Cairo.
They
and
were
Kissinger
close to
said
Cairo.
no. Yeah,
Yes.
Kissinger called them off and said no and ordered them not to do it, because he was not a friend of Israel by any means. He was not good to the Jewish people. I just wanted to finish, because Rabbi Khan needs to get off the line. And I think we've been here for a little while. I just want to say that I'm also very grateful for this dialogue that we have. It does take some give and take and restraint on both sides. So Rabbi Kahn hears things that he doesn't agree with. He doesn't get upset. He calmly offers his opinion, and this is a very good thing. I've also demonstrated certain restraint in some of my comments in order to allow dialogue and goodwill to continue. And I think that's what we need to do. So I'm hoping that everybody here will reach out to people on the other side of the aisle, maybe people that you haven't been talking to or people that you got upset with, and just exercise some restraint and recognize the relationship is really very important. And sometimes we have to use a little give and take and some discretion, but I'm very thankful for this dialogue. I hope it will continue, and I hope everyone here appreciates the fact that what we're doing is very rare. You can look all around the country and not see this type of thing happening. And I hope that we're going to get this a bigger platform. I have some plans, and Arnie Pickles has some plans to take this dialogue and send it national and maybe put it on cable TV or get national attention for it, because what we're doing here is important. And I hope it will continue. So thank you everybody for participating. I think Bethlehem has a concluding comment. Go ahead.
Unmute yourself, Bevelyn. You click on the bottom left corner microphone. Oops. Nope. It's not working. Well, I know Rabbi Kahn has to leave promptly, so
let's take a little time. Maybe Beverly, look over till you see a picture of a microphone with a line through it. Click on that and the line will come off the microphone and you'll be able to talk.
It should be on the bottom left corner.
And it should be a red microphone.
Or
red
click on,
line.
or click on the message that I'm sending you, because I'm asking you to unmute. Just click on OK.
I'm sorry, guys, I have to take this call. Have a good Thanksgiving. Sharon, I'm sorry I gave you a heartache.
It's okay. I want to be,
Love you all.
Thank you. Love you too, Emily.
Judy, I have heard from people you wouldn't believe.
Evelyn, are you on an iPad or are you on a PC? A laptop? If you're on a laptop, it's on the bottom left. You just have to move your mouse around and see the bottom left corner. It says mute, and then it's got a little microphone, and it's got a red line through it. You just click on that little microphone, and it comes off. You did it before.
There. Okay.
All right.
There you go. There you go. You did it.
Well, I'm sorry for holding you all up. I'm really
Okay.
techie is not my field.
That's
I
all right.
just wanted,
This better be good.
I just wanted to put an addendum to what you just said. And I'm thankful for having this format because I felt so isolated with this whole pandemic and all. That this is so wonderful to have a connection and to see familiar faces and to hear something that's interesting, because I felt like I was stagnating. And this has brought me back to hopefully my previous life, and I hope it will be in the future. So I really appreciate it. I'm grateful for Barry Silver and the Va-Dor
And Rabbi Khan.
Oh, and Rabbi Zahn, yes. Well,
Khan.
whatever. I read the bulletin, and it's so good that you're having films, and I appreciate this temple.
Thanks, Bevelyn. It's great to have you. Thank you, everybody, for joining with us. We'll be seeing you in the future with some great programming. Take care,
Thank
everybody.
you, Rabbi Khan, for reading New York Times, because I'm in Brooklyn. I'm right between Borough Park and Midwood. And let me tell you, there aren't too many people around here who read the New York Times.
Every day.
Thank
Take
you,
care,
guys.
everybody.
Have a safe,
Bye.
have a
Bye.
healthy Thanksgiving. Our love to all of you. Please share this with your friends. If each of you would share with 2 or 3 of your friends and family about these Tuesday night discussions, we'd have more people come in and share the Shabbat services with everybody. We've got a lot going on. Just share with your friends and family our links, our voice. You just forward it on, and we would be so, so grateful. So thank you all. Big
Well,
hugs
one other
and
thing,
kisses.
by the way, if you share it, then it'll be Bashar it.
Bashir.
All right? Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye, guys.